Today's lesson is going to be on putting. This is probably the most important part of the game. If you look at most good players, 40% of their shots are on the putting green. So really 40% of the time should be spent practicing putting. I'm going to go over a pretty in-depth lesson here today because it is very important. The one good thing about putting, it doesn't require any physical skills really. Anybody that can be a very good putter. They might not be a long ball hitter or a great ball striker, but if you be a good putter, you can actually save you a lot of golf shots. So what we're going to talk here about is basic fundamentals. There's four main things that I want you to do when you're putting. Okay, first of all, like I've said before with our club, when we're swinging a club, the club has got to fall naturally. Our hands have got to fall naturally, and so wherever our hands naturally fall, that's where you hold the putter. Okay, so when I hold the putter, I want to make sure my hands are where they naturally fall. Okay, I want my eyes directly over that ball. So if I'm turning this way and I'm looking, I'm going to be looking directly down over the ball. Okay, so hands where they naturally fall, eyes over the ball. Our stance, it can be comfortable. It can be wide, gives you a little bit more balance. It can be narrow. It doesn't really matter. You just got to make sure your weight is stationary. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to put a little pressure on my inside left thigh here. Now remember, if you're a left-hander, everything's the opposite. So my hands are where they naturally fall. My eyes are over the ball, and my weight's right here. I don't shift weight. I leave my weight stationary when I putt. Okay. Now the key here is the grip and your hands. What you're trying to do with your hands, you're trying to make sure that there's no breakdown in the wrist. Okay, so when I'm swinging the putter, okay, all I'm trying to do is move my shoulders. It's strictly a shoulder movement. Okay, there's no hands involved in this. You'll see a lot of people that'll use their hands, but it's something that beginner golfers do. They get a little more right hand than they need to. You really want to not do that. You want to make sure that you're using your shoulders. Okay, so I set up over the ball, eyes over the ball, hands where they naturally fall, a little pressure here, and all I'm trying to do is take the putter back far enough to get enough strike on the ball in order to get to the distance that I'm looking for. This is the other thing, and this is where especially beginners have a hard time, is how hard do I hit the ball? You want to develop a rhythm when you putt. For a short putt, let's just say a 3 or 4 footer, you're taking the putter back shorter, but you're having the same rhythm you're going to have on a 10-foot putt. The only thing you're doing is taking the putter back farther than you would with a shorter putt. So the farther you take the putter back with the same rhythm and stroke through, the longer the ball is going to go. So you have to develop feel on the greens. You have to practice to be able to get the distance control down. Okay? So when I'm standing over the ball and I'm looking at, if I have a 10-foot putt, I'm feeling, okay, I've practiced 10 footers. I know what that feels like. Okay, my putter's coming back a certain distance and I'm going through. One of the key things that you have to do when you putt is you need to keep your head down. Okay, you've got to look at the ball. You don't follow the ball after it's struck. You keep your head down, and that'll make sure that you'll accelerate through the golf ball. All right, you're trying to make sure that when you make contact with it, that your hands keep on moving through the ball. If your eyes come up, usually whatever way your eyes go or your eyes look is where the putter head's going to go. So you'll hear a lot of people say, well, I push that one. And normally what happens is as they make contact with the ball, their eyes come up, their eyes go to the right, and the putter head goes to the right. Thus, the ball will go to the right. So it's key to keep your head down. Okay? Now, practicing. So what we would normally do in this class, we would set up some drills out on the greens here, and we would try to say, okay, look, I'm going to sit 5 footers up, 10 footers up, 15 footers up, and we try to do is get a feel for those distances. This is how you want to practice. I know it's boring. I think most people have any amount of time. They want to come to the driving range right away, and they want to start pounding golf balls, and I understand that. But what I recommend is that if you do have an hour of time, is you always spend at least 15 minutes on the putting green. Okay, you always make sure if you only got a limited amount of time, and just say before you're playing around the golf, you always want to putt longer putts to try to get a feel for the speed of the greens. The beauty of golf is that you play golf at a different golf course every time. And if you look at most, sports, you're playing the same type of area. You're playing a basketball arena is pretty well the same thing. Golf courses are totally different. Every one of them are unique, and so the greens are all different. Some greens you're going to get on are going to be extremely fast. You get on other greens that are going to be extremely slow. So you have to get a feel for the speed of the greens. You really want to do that prior to playing your game. Okay. Now I want to also talk about things that you have to, fundamentals that you have to think about before you actually strike the ball. I shouldn't say fundamentals, they're actually things you want to think about as far as executing the putts. Okay, so there's 4 basic things that you want to think about as you're walking up the green in the putts. Okay, first thing is, how far am I away from the hole? So you can easily pace that off. Usually a pace is usually a yard, so that's 3 feet. So you can pace it off to figure out how far you are. Okay. The next thing is you want to see if the ball breaks. What way does the ball break? Does it go from left to right, right to left? Okay. The third thing that you want to do is you want to figure out, am I going uphill or downhill? Okay. So you can easily do that by looking at if I've got a putt here. I don't know if you can see my tee here, but if I look on the side and I see the side of the putt, and I can see if my ball is lower or higher than the hole, I'll know either I'm going uphill or downhill. Okay. Now the last thing I always try, the basics are, you got to know what the ball does as it gets to the hole. In other words, does the hole go away from you, or does the hole go uphill or downhill, side hill, right hill? So you really want to see those last 5 feet, and you really want to look at the extended hole. Okay. So you do those 4 things, you can make a good judgment on what you have to do in order to execute the putt. All right. What I recommend is that most people first, as they're walking up to the green, start thinking about these things. Okay. In the rules of golf, you basically, the person farthest away from the hole has the honor to putt, and so that person has to be ready to execute his putt. In the game of golf right now, you're given about 40 seconds to execute your shot when it's your turn to hit. So you have to go through a few things, little checks that you have to go through in order to be able to figure out how hard to hit the ball, where to aim, and where you want to leave the ball if you don't execute the putt. Now I will tell you this, in order to be a good putter, you got to think you're a good putter. And to think you're a good putter, you got to think you're going to make everything you stand over. And so every time you do line up a putt, your motive is, I'm going to make this putt. Okay, so you're not trying just to get it close. You're doing everything you can to put that ball in the hole. Now, I'm going to ask Jack to come on over here. Let's see, Jack. Let's see if we got a putt right here. Okay, I want Jack to set up for this putt right here. He's going to use his putter. Now, this putt here is about 12 feet long, and it's slightly uphill, and the break is what, Jack?
Left to right.
Left to right, okay? Now, if you notice, Jack's feet are a little open, okay? So, in putting, a lot of times you want to be open because you want to visually see the hole, especially a putt that goes from left to right, okay? So you want to see that line. Your eyes want to be able to see that line. If you set up too square, in other words, your feet are more pointed towards the hole, most likely he's going to miss that ball to the right. So it's slightly uphill. He wants to be a little bit open to the hole, and he wants to make sure he sees that line. Also, you can't see it on your angle. However, the ball position that Jack has is slightly up in his stance. You want to position the golf ball either in the middle or towards the inside left heel. Most of the time, you're going to see most people just be past middle, and that is going to be where the contact is square on the putter. You create an arc when you putt, so you want to be at the squarest point at that when you're executing the putt, so that you're not hitting the ball with club face open or the club face closed. So go ahead, Jack, and make a putt. Think that might have went in?
Maybe.
Good chance. Anyhow, I'm also going to give you a quick agronomy lesson here. We're very fortunate at Elon University to have 2 very nice putting greens. The one we're on here right now is a bent grass green. This is a cool season grass green. Okay, so you'll see this type of grass anywhere from North Carolina up, the border right all the way to Canada. Okay. The other green is on the other side. You can't quite see it from here, but that is a Bermuda grass green. And Bermuda grass is dominant from North Carolina down south. So you see there's a common theme here. North Carolina the area that we're living in is kind of a transitional zone, okay? You can have bent grass down here, okay, and it can survive. It struggles a little bit in the summertime, but in the wintertime, it's very nice. Bermuda grass does great in the summertime here in North Carolina, but in the wintertime, it struggles a little bit. So we get to play both surfaces here in North Carolina. You go up to New York, upstate New York, you're only going to see bent grass. You might see some pointed grass, but you're not going to see Bermuda grass. Down south, just like in Florida, you're not going to see any bent grass. You're strictly going to see Bermuda grass. So we have that privilege of being able to putt on both type of surfaces here in North Carolina. And at Elon University, we're very fortunate to be able to have both of these greens to be able to work on our game. So I want to recap a little bit. Basic fundamentals of the stroke: eyes over the ball, hands where they naturally fall, no breakdown in your wrists at all. It's all shoulder movement, and you want a little pressure on the inside left thigh if you're a right-hander, opposite if you're left-hander. Okay? As far as when you come to the greens and you're thinking about things that you, before executing the putt, you want to know the distance, you want to know the break, you want to know, am I going uphill or downhill, and you want to look at the extended hole. These are the basics of putting. There's all kinds of different things like grain. There's all kinds of things like dew on the ground, thinness of greens. There's all kinds of different things that you can calculate as you get better with this game. However, those are the basics that you want to stick by, and you'll become a very good putter.